Okay. So we continue in our exploration of Derech HaShem, the way of Hashem, section 4, chapter 7. Ba'avodah hazmanis. Avodah hazmanis, which means occasional service. So we're talking about. Last time we spoke about Shabbos, right? And Shabbos. So he told us. So he had a question. So the question was not really what's Shabbos all about, but in terms about why is there such a thing as Shabbos in the design of the world, and then there has to be an element of kedusha, right? Mm-hmm. The point is that Hashem wanted to infuse the world with kedusha. Now let's just recap. What is kedusha? What is kedusha? What is kedusha? So we very appropriate, right? We should have spoken about last week. We didn't get together last week, so it's okay. But anyway, so Parshas Kedoshim, right? Mm-hmm. Parshas Kedoshim is the parsha of kedusha, mm-hmm. Right? So we have a Machlokas Rashi and the Ramban, really, what Kedoshim means, mm-hmm. Right? But in any case, really, there's a common denominator to both Rashi and the Ramban, and then that is that Kedoshim means Prushim. Mm-hmm. Prushim means separated, mm-hmm. Right? So Shabbos also. Shabbos we make Kiddush and we make Havdalah. So the truth is, Kiddush and Havdalah, especially according to the Rambam, are two sides of the same coin, right? Kiddush both means separation, to separate Shabbos from the rest of the week. But so if you have two items, you could separate this way, right? Mm-hmm. Raise this one above the other one. Or you could separate this way, lower this one from mm-hmm. this one, mm-hmm. Right? So Kiddush is more like this, mm-hmm. Right? You're separating Shabbos, elevating it from above the weekday. Havdalah is more like this. You're going down into the weekday while Shabbos stays up here, right? So Kiddush and Havdalah. So according to Rambam, it's really one mitzvah.
No problem. If Kiddush brings Shabbos up there, you have to bring it down to put it down second part. Otherwise, you don't go.
No, I mean, it's not. We're not talking about physical space, but I'm just saying, conceptually, Kiddush is separating towards Hakadosh Baruch Hu, right? And Havdalah is also separating towards Hakadosh Baruch Hu, but it's from the other side. Right, you're standing on the kedusha side, and you're saying, "Oh, the other day is lower down." Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. But again, the same. But the key element is separation. Right. What we really understand is that, I mean, there is no, everything is relative, right? Everything is relative. I mean, if you're standing in, I don't know how to say this, but if you're all the way down here, right, and you're separating your kedusha somewhere towards Hashem, this is Kaddish, this is Chol, right? If you're up here, then this over here for you is really Chol. I mean, it's really below your dignity, so to speak. So for you, kedusha is somewhere here. What I'm trying to say is that kedusha is not a it doesn't seem like it's really a tangible thing. Meaning, it's more like a process. It's more like direction as opposed to location, right? It's direction as opposed to location. It's the process of separating towards, and it's infinite. So even though I just said so, it seems like if you're over here, this is not kedusha, but it's not true because the point is the direction, right? So there was a process of separation that caused a direction towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in relative terms, well, in terms of location, it maybe is lower down, but in terms of direction, it's pointing in the right direction, right? And so kedusha but the focus on kedusha is separation from something else. So your first step. So, we see that in order to separate, and in order to have kedusha, you have to have non-kedusha, right? Kedusha is not possible without having some non-kedusha that you're distinguishing from, right?
Mhm.
So in a way, so so the Mekubalim talk about was something called Olam Shona Nefesh, right? The world has these three components, which is Olam means the world, Shona means time, or year, I mean literally means year, and Nefesh means soul, right? Olam Shona Nefesh. And so there has to be Kedusha in three of these components. There has to be Kedusha in place, Kedusha in time, and Kedusha in Nefesh, in people, right? So Klal Yisrael is Kedusha in people. Shabbos and Yom Tov is Kedusha in time. And Beis Hamikdash, Eretz Yisrael, Beis Hamikdash, Kodesh HaKadoshim is Kedusha in place, in space, right? And then we have levels, right? Eretz Yisrael is Kedusha from amongst the rest of the world. Yerushalayim is Kodesh from amongst Eretz Yisrael. Beis Hamikdash, Harabayis is Kodesh from Yerushalayim. Beis Hamikdash from Harabayis and Kodesh HaKadoshim from so there's a hierarchy of Kedusha, and there is and same thing within Klal Yisrael. There's Klal Yisrael amongst the nations. There's Kahanim, Levim, right? There's Kedusha within Kedusha and within Kedusha, right? So, okay. So what I'm saying is right. So what I'm saying is that what Ramchal points out is that in the design of the world, there has to be a hierarchy of kedusha, and that hierarchy of kedusha allows for the world to be balanced out. Okay, all right, let's move on. With that in mind, let's keep going. So Dalet, paragraph 4. Milvad ma sheneasar shelo livkom b'kvoid hakodesh hanishpa b'yom zeh, and besides that it is forbidden to livkom, to make a pagam, to spoil in Kvoid HaKodesh, in the honor of this holiness, which is nishpa b'yom zeh, which is influenced, transmitted on this day. So let's just, in light of what we just said, what do you mean? What do you mean kedusha hanishpa b'yom zeh? What do we mean holiness that is being emanated on this day? Kedusha is not a positive thing. It seems, isn't Kedusha more of like a negative thing? You are separating from something else. So it's only holy, and because it's different from the thing that you moved away from, right? What's the Kedusha Hanishpa B'yom Zeh? So I'm saying yes and no. By virtue of stepping away from point A, right, to move on to point B, the direction is key. The direction is that you're moving towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, that allows you to receive this hashpah of what we call kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it does become a positive thing by virtue of you making a step away from A. You're then also coming closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and so then you do receive by creating that negative space of removal and towards away from A. You are then also allow yourself to receive a positive, let's call it B or whatever, right? Okay, right. So besides the fact that it is forbidden to cause any spoilage of the kedusha that's being nishpa, that's being emanated on this day, we also have to then honor this holiness which emanates to us, right? And that's the idea behind having oinek Shabbos and honoring Shabbos, right? In other words, there's a negative aspect of Shabbos, Would I phrase it like this? No, I wouldn't phrase it like this. Meaning, if you ask me how I would phrase it, I would say, if you're gonna do the whole point of Shabbos, you just finished telling me, or at least I just finished telling you, is to move away from something. And how do you move away from something? How do you move away from something? you move away from something by not doing malacha on that day.
Right, do something
Right?
else.
It's not that I would say, meaning, if I'm right, maybe I'm wrong actually. I don't know. No, if I'm right, that kedusha is really begins with separation, right? And then the positive aspect of kedusha is a result of that separation. Then the malacha that you do on Shabbos, it's not that it causes a spoilage in the kedusha. I would have said it prevents from the process to happen, because you're turning this Shabbos, so to speak, into a weekday. Into a weekday. It doesn't. It's more than just, hey, you're mistreating the kedusha. You're killing the kedusha, right? I don't know. Maybe okay, whatever. Meaning he's talking about after the. I'm not sure. I mean, he's talking about maybe after the fact. Once Shabbos is designated as a day of rest, so whether what you do really doesn't matter, because what you should do is what defines. Okay, I'm not sure. Anyways, but you see what I'm saying. I would have possibly phrased this differently. That's number one. Number two is, okay, so if I don't do any malacha on Shabbos, so what? So then he says I also have to give honor to this kedusha after an oineg. Okay, let's see. Let's continue. Let's read and we'll discuss. And this is in its arrival and its exit. B'kiddush b'avdola, with the mitzvah of kiddush and havdola. V'shar kol pratov, and other details. Kulam inyonim noisedim b'chlolam aleisoida zeh. So all of them are based on this foundational principle, shehu, which is lishmor es atzmeinu be'erech haroi lekdusha nishpas lonu, to guard ourselves in a proper stature which is fit for this kedusha that we are receiving. Lechabed ma'ila hazois, to honor this great elevation, uliyakra, and to treasure it. Lichvoid inyona, to appreciate its for the honor of its idea concept, shehu, which is what kurva gdoyle lov is baruch dvekus godel boy, which is coming close to Hashem and attaching greatly to Him. V'lichvoid noisna is baruch. And to honor the one who gave this matana, who gave this gift to us, is baruch shenosan lanu matana gdola hazeh, to appreciate, right? So we honor the Shabbos in order to appreciate the great gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to us. And the myriad details of Kavod Shabbos are all connected to this idea. Its way and its toldus, its aspects. In what they are in truth.
You mentioned Anik as a honoring Shabbos. Anik is
doesn't fit, right?
Directed towards you.
Doesn't fit, right? Oinig Shabbos is AIDS. I mean,
it's me taking from Shabbos and enjoying the gift of Shabbos, right? Not me watering the tree, me getting the apple, whatever fruit from the tree, and enjoying what it gives.
Right. I mean, I hear you, right? That would be one way to question. That would also question it. In what way? I mean, since you're the other side. I mean, right. In what way are you honoring Shabbos by having Einig Shabbos? In what way are you? If the purpose, like he says, is to treasure this precious gift, so how is this precious gift treasured by me having my ice cream on Shabbos? Right? My nap on Shabbos. In what way does it elevate?
Son eating his mom's soup. Mom is happy that son is enjoying the soup. Have some cutlet.
What do we say over here? Let's read this. When we make Kiddush, the paragraph before, where is it?
Ready?
Im tashiv m'Shabbos reglecha, if you rest on Shabbos your feet, asois chafetzecha, from doing your mundane things, b'yom kachi, on my holy day, v'karasa l'Shabbos oineg, and you will refer to Shabbos, you'll call Shabbos an oineg, liktosh Hashem mechubad, to the holy Hashem who is honored, right? And you will honor it from doing your regular ways. And you will speak things. Then you will also tisanagal Hashem. You will have oineg in Hashem. So that's your answer right there.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning, since what do we say Shabbos is? We say Me'ein Olam Haba. Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. What is Me'ein Olam Haba? Me'ein Olam Haba is tzaddikim are sitting, quote unquote, in their nanin. They're enjoying from the Ziva Shechina, from the radiance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So your Oinak Shabbos is a taste of that, right? That's the kedusha. That's so the Oinak Shabbos becomes the kedusha, right? It's not this is a gishmak of physical chicken I'm having. No, this is a taste of Olam Haba that I'm enjoying. I'm using this, so to speak. I'm having this enjoyment as a way to connect to the future Olam Haba of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it says, right? Straight pasuk, right? Right? The karosel Shabbos oineg oz tisanagal Hashem. Then you will also be able to misanagal Hashem, to have oineg of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Okay. Good. Fine. Good. So that's right. Good. So fine. So we understood now what the positive aspects of Shabbos are, and those he put them in together, the Oinig Shabbos and the Kovet Shabbos, even though based on what we're saying here, they're not necessarily the same thing. One is honor, like you said, just honoring and appreciating the Matana, and one is really, in a way, it comes out that Oinig Shabbos possibly is higher, so to speak, than Kovet Shabbos, right?
That's what sounds like.
Oinig Shabbos is more direct.
No, it's like one guy saying, like, in Shabbos I cannot work, as others was saying, finally Shabbos I don't have to work. Both not working, but one appreciates, one, okay, Shabbos doesn't work.
Right, but on one hand you can observe Shabbos and hate it. The other, right.
Yeah, I don't hate it, you just do it because it's Shabbos, and one, finally it's Shabbos.
Right.
But on the other hand, you could have donut, which is definitely
It's like children. No, okay, no TV on Shabbos, but they can wait. Okay, I just Shabbos in 20 minutes, 19, 15. But it's they don't
Right,
see
but
it.
we're
They keep
saying
Shabbos,
kids
there's
don't
no
have that
Oinig.
Oinig Shabbos. Kids are missing the Oinig Shabbos because, Okay, fine. All right, moving on. Let's keep going. Okay, hey. That's the end of Shabbos. Now he's moving on. He's saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to add an additional kiddush, right? Additional sanctification upon the sanctification of Shabbos. V'nosna lahem, and the great wisdom of Hashem gave to them Yemei Kodesh Milvad Shabbos, holy days besides Shabbos. Just 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. Okay, moving on. Shebahem yikablu Yisrael madregois mimadregois hakiddush. That on those days that are non-Shabbos holy days, right? Yisrael, Klal Yisrael will receive other levels, also of levels of holiness, but different. However, these levels of holiness here are lower than the level of Shabbos. Hashpa'osoi v'kidushoi, lower than its emanation and lower than its sanctity. Okay. V'hinei kifi madregas hashpa'osim shel yomim ha'ele. So according to the level that hashpa'ah, of hashpa'ah, right, of this emanation that these days receive, so in proportion, I would say, in proportion to the level of kedusha, that's how much you have to abstain from being involved in the physical world, right? Right. So we're going to have, meaning what he's saying is we have Shabbos, we're going to have Yom Kippur, we're going to have Yom Tov, we're going to have Rosh Chodesh, we're going to have Chanukah, we're going to have Purim, different levels of kedusha. And each level, you're going to have a different abstinence from being involved in the physical world, right? Good. And basically, that's going to be our litmus. That's going to see how much malacha is forbidden on these days. So Yom Kippur is going to be almost like Shabbos, right? It's l'mayla mikulam. It's going to be the highest of all the additional holy days. After that, it's going to be Yom Tovim. After, right? And achareim, and after that is Chodesh. Ve'ein ba bitul malach ela l'noshim. On Rosh Chodesh, there is no abstinence from work besides for women. Now, what he's saying is a really beautiful thing. So is Rosh Chodesh only holy for women? If only women are forbidden to work on Rosh Chodesh, so Rosh Chodesh is a holy day for women? No. What we're saying is that Klal Yisrael is like one unit. Right? If there is, for whatever reason, Rosh Chodesh has a malacha that's bittul for women for whatever reason, that defines the day though as a holy day. Right? It expresses itself as a bittul malacha for women for whatever reason, that women are connected to, to the moon cycle or whatever, I don't know, whatever the reason is, right? So for whatever reason, it expresses itself as an abstinence for female, right, from work. But it's a whole day for all of Klal Yisrael, because that just like our Kohen Gadol, only Kohen Gadol goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Yom Kippurim. So is it only special for Kohen Gadol? No, Kohen Gadol is my fingertip of Klal Yisrael. So the entire Klal Yisrael put its fingertip into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, right? So all of it is experiencing this Kedusha, right? And same things for Rosh Chodesh. Okay. V'achar kol zeh Chanukah u'Purim. Then after Rosh Chodesh we have Chanukah and Purim, she'ein b'hem bitul malacha, that really they don't have any abstinence from work. Ela haydah b'Chanukah. Rather we have haydah b'Chanukah. Haydah means what's the word? Haydah means thanksgiving on Chanukah. V'simcha gam kein b'Purim. On Purim you also have Haydah and Simcha, right? Gam kein and Simcha. And that is related to the Shefa HaNishpa, and also and the light that is shining on that day. Right? So I believe he did not use the word light when it comes to Shabbos. Right? Till now he was talking about only Kedusha and Hashpah. Right? There was no light of Shabbos. Am I wrong?
You're right.
Just 1 second. Right. He talks about the darkness of the world. He talks about darkness, but I don't see him referring to Shabbos as light. Okay, so it's interesting. Meaning, just the verbiage is interesting. Meaning, I think he's going to tell us down the road. He's going to tell us that on each Yom Tov, right? Meaning, besides the Kedusha, which we're saying Kedusha, let's continue with our definition, as a separation from the physical, mundane world towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? There's another aspect of Yom Tov, that whatever occurrence occurred on that day is recreated or re-experienced or brought down again on that day every year, on the anniversary of that day. So every year on 15th of Nisan is Yitzias Mitzrayim, right? 21st of Nisan is Kriyas Yamsuf, and Shavuos is Matan Torah, and so on and so forth, right? So what he means over here, the light, right, besides the Shefa HaNishpa, which is what he was talking about, Shabbos Kodesh is the Shefa HaNishpa of the Kedusha of Shefa of Shabbos, there is also going to be a unique light of that day. In other words, the theme of that day that is going to be rekindled on that day. So if you ask me, I would have used terminology, flip the terminology. I would have said, but I don't know anything, but I'm just saying, I would have said the influence, the shefa of the day that made Yitzias Mitzrayim is re-nishpa, is re-emanated on the 15th of Nisan every year. And the light is the light of holiness, so to speak. The light, meaning to me, the word light is more symbolic of Kedusha, right? And the theme is more, seems like should be more called a shefa, right? But he switches the terminology.
Materiological, actually.
What? Which? His way or my way?
Go your way.
Right. I mean, obviously, I said it. Okay. Anyways, let's keep going. So besides this kiddush, this holiness, which is measured in levels according to the level of the holiness of that day. There is also, this is what I think he's talking about, but let's see if I'm right. There in Yonim Protium, there are specific ideas or concepts or happenings that are specifically designated for those times according to the Inyan, to the idea of that time. And the source of the root of all these is the Seder, is the organization that the great wisdom organized, called Tikkun Sheniskan, that any rectification that was rectified, the Or Godel, and the great light, Sheheyer Bizman Me'azmanim, that lit up on that particular time, meaning in history, right? Beshuv Tkufa Sazman Hazeh, when that Tkufa of that time returns, right? The anniversary of that time returns, Yoyer Aleinu, so here it spells it out over here very clearly, right? Yoyer Aleinu, or Me'ein Ha'or Harishon, there will rekindle itself a light similar to that original light. And there will be a renewal of that tikkun, of that rectification, to those people that are re-experiencing or accepting that day. Right? So that's what he calls, so it's interesting. So he calls there's original Or Godel, right? There's an original Or Godel. Yitzias Mitzrayim was the original breakthrough, was the original Or Godel. And every year we experience an Or Cotton, a little bit of that original Or Godel. Again, why does it call it light? I don't know. I don't know why it's called light, as opposed to, again, Shefa or Koyach or Shoyre, I don't know, a different word. To me, light doesn't, meaning, why don't I like it? Because light is a global thing. Over here, he's referring to something miyuchad, right? Something particular happened on that particular day. So that to me is a shefa. Shefa seems more localized, right? Mashenkin light seems like more of like a global phenomenon. That's why these words don't seem to fit. Clearly, he disagrees. Okay, so I'm not sure why he. I have to think. This is I think a revelation. I just don't know yet of what. Okay, let's keep going. So even though we were commanded in the Chag Pesach in all the different commandments that we were commanded, to remember the Yitzias Mitzrayim, right? Because that rectification of Yitzias Mitzrayim was a great tikkun, was a great rectification, that we were rectified with. As we mentioned above, Hukba, it was then set that whenever that time returns during the year, that there will light upon us the light from the light that originally was lit up. And then we will renew in ourselves that the result of that rectification, meaning that cherus that we received, that we earned through Yetzias Mitzrayim, on the 15th of Nisan of every year, we can re-experience or refresh that tikkun, that rectification. So therefore, whatever we were commanded on Pesach is connected, or is like a key to unlock our ability to re-experience that original light. Good. Derech HaShem. Let's just finish up. Derech HaShem. The Torah, and the same idea is with the holiday of Shavuos to experience Matan Torah. V'Chag HaSukkos linyan Ananei HaKavod, and Chag HaSukkos in regards to re-experiencing Ananei HaKavod. And all this is going to explain and elaborate what happens on each of these days and what elements are we re-experiencing. Even though. Now he points over here. He's explaining what the Tur said, right? What is he saying? Even though that's not exactly that time, right? Meaning the Tur famous question is, why are we celebrating Chag HaSukkos, which is Ananei HaKavod, right? In the fall, we should be experiencing it by Pesach time, which is when we got it, when we left Mitzrayim. And so he says, but then it would be Nicker because everybody goes into their summer tent, so we do it in the winter because everybody goes home and we go out. Right? So he's telling us over here, so even though I just finished telling you that what happens on these holidays, because you are reliving that calendar date, so whatever koyach happened on that calendar date, whatever light was originally kindled on that calendar date, you are going to re-experience that light. So Sukkot, but it's the wrong calendar date. So how am I re-experiencing that light? But it doesn't matter. He says, even though it's not exactly that time, since the Torah set aside this day in order to commemorate this idea, right? So therefore, we get it on that day. Because it says, I'm giving you this day for this purpose. So the theme of that day is going to be has been moved 6 months 6 months forward. Okay, so the theme of that day has been moved 6 months forward. Let me just contemplate this for a second. Okay, all right. Let's leave it for now. But that's a very interesting idea to begin with. If you just learn the Tur, okay, we wanted to show, right? In the way, again, in his world, where everything is, I don't know how to say it, systemic and logical. What do you mean? You can just move it. This is not, this is not Thanksgiving. You just move it to the first Thursday of the third, whatever. This is the Zman. You're reliving that Zman. Who gives you the right to just say, to play around and move it around, right? Okay, so let's leave that as a thought because there's depth here. Okay. V'chein Chanukah v'chein Purim. And so Chanukah and Purim also, so even though, again, what's the Chiddush Chanukah and Purim? Chiddush of Chanukah and Purim is that, these are not Torah holidays, right?
How do we just...
Right, but here it is. Right, the rabbis are going to have the power or I don't know if they have the power. Let's put it this way: they either have the power to do this, or they have the vision to see it and identify it, and therefore be kaveya, Okay, Val Derech Zeh, and in a similar way, how you call Yimei Megillas Tainis. Now, in the days of old, there was something called Megillas Tainis, right, which really went through the entire year and had so many more days, right? However, this Megillas Tainis was nisbatel because Klal Yisrael was not able to stand all these the additional fasts. And so they then became potter from making a commemorative day for those days. lehisoirus or hameir, and kind of they lost out to be able to rekindle that light, right? Okay, so right, so the missing of Megillas Tainus is a loss, because we lost the ability to re-experience, to reignite those lights. Okay, now we're going to drill down and explain each of these days, each of these mitzvahs individually. Okay, so recap what we learned today. Recap what we learned is we learned about, we finished off about Shabbos. I'm wondering if the idea of kedusha, which I always understood as a separation from the mundane, and the positive aspect of kedusha comes as just as a result, right? Or is there something more? Is there really maybe it's really the other way around? Maybe there is a positive aspect of kedusha, and the separation is just to come forward and meet it. That's number one. Number two is we saw that there's a positive aspect of kedusha, which is oineg and kavod, right? And we had a beautiful insight from Yeshayahu, oineg Shabbos. That oineg Shabbos now is not just, hey, let's enjoy Shabbos day. It's really like a spiritual uplifting of Me'ein Olam Haba. And we talked about other days in addition to Shabbos, right? They also have elements of kedusha, which is expressed in different levels of abstaining from being involved in the physical world, all the way down to Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah and Purim. And then, besides that, they also have a different aspect, which is re-experiencing of some tikkun, of some light, the great light that happened on those days. Okay. Very good.